YouTube, what's going on? Bobby C back here again for another custom handgun quick look. Today we are looking at a Ned Christiansen Gold Cup Commander custom edition. This is a 1911 that Ned built for a friend of his back in what I believe to be the early 2000s, and it is just as, if not more, spectacular now than it was back when he originally built it. And I'll kind of take you through why I love this particular gun, why it's grown on me very quickly, really why it's become one of my favorite pistols that I own. And I'll just show you some of the details. One of the things that I talk a lot about when I write these handgun reviews up, or when I'm talking about this stuff in video, is that it's really hard to come to appreciate something like this from a simple video. And the reason is because a lot of the small minor details of a gun like this can quickly be overlooked or quickly be glanced past because you're not sitting right in front of it. And I'll be honest, even sitting right in front of this pistol, there are some very, very cool things about it that I didn't even really notice until they were pointed out to me by, someone else that was looking at it. So the first thing I'll talk about really quickly is these grips. These are a set of Brian Chalice grips from Chalice Grips. Brian is no longer making grips, so for me, he is the GOAT in terms of grip maker. And these grips were set aside for a different pistol that I still haven't received yet. But with that said, I think they have found their forever home on this particular pistol. They just look that good. It just flows. It looks honestly magnificent. Perfect contrast with the bluing and just kind of the way everything sits and flows together. These grips have now found their forever home on this pistol, and so the pistol that was earmarked for these will sadly have to get something else, because these are sticking around and staying on this particular gun. So with that said, let's talk about this a little bit. Let's kind of dive in and talk about what makes this one so cool. So the first thing I will say is, if you ever looked at a Colt Commander or a Colt Gold Cup Commander custom edition gun, you would notice right away the huge differences, as well as the subtle differences in regards to, what each of these is all about and what makes them different. The thing that Ned Christiansen is just a master at is making these custom guns look like they came just as they sit. So if I were to just hand you this and say, here's a Colt Gold Cup national match, if you didn't know any better, you may think that this is exactly the way the gun is supposed to look. And in all reality, it's nothing like the way the gun actually is supposed to look. So with that said, let's jump into it. The first thing I want to call attention to is this rear sight. So you can, if you know what the Colt Gold Cup Commander looks like, you would know that this has a very interesting adjustable rear sight. Ned literally fabricated this tactical style rear sight from scratch and made it look like a piece of the slide. Now, as I zoom in and I get really up close and personal with my video, you can quickly see where those blending marks are. But with that said, from afar and just looking at it, it blends and flows just perfectly. The way he created this, I'll just call it rib on top, is completely amazing. It flows all the way through, and you can see how all that just flows together and works flawlessly, almost as if it were from the factory. That also ramped up some top serrations that flow all the way through the front of the slide. He custom fabricated and serrated with tritium insert a front sight, and the same, like I said, with this back rear sight. It just is something to really marvel at, the way that Ned was able to quote unquote make metal grow on this particular pistol. The other thing that is really awesome, or really amazing, is just, again, the way the whole pistol flows all together. So if I look at the front strap of this pistol, and you look at the serrations there, as well as the mainspring housing and the serrations there, and then the top of the slide, all that flows flawlessly, when in reality none of that stuff came factory stock on this pistol. You'll notice some other things like this King's trigger, the thumb safety, the slide stop, and the mainspring housing, all blended to perfection and all flow perfectly through the gun, which again makes it look almost like it was supposed to come this way. Ned also took and re-welded up the slide and frame and straightened all the lines on this. So what you end up having is a perfectly symmetrical, beautiful pistol. You'll notice the bluing on this. Ned doesn't do the bluing in-house, from what I understand. This went to Glenrock Blue, and those guys always do an amazing job when it comes to bluing firearms as well. This does have a Colt National Match barrel in it, with a Colt National Match bushing, and then obviously the plug. This cannot be hand turned, so the bushing fit is very tight. The barrel fit's phenomenal. And one thing that I've noticed now that Ned likes to do, for whatever reason, I couldn't give you the, the exact science behind it or the full-on reasoning, is he hard chromes his barrel and his hammers, which, it's just a little bit added piece of flair to it. Again, I couldn't tell you the quote-unquote real reasoning why he does it. I'm just gonna assume that it's, to preserve longevity and wear, just because of what the hard chrome, the hardness of it just is not going to allow that to wear as quickly. But with that said, I don't know if that's factual or not. That's just kind of me talking. If you look at this Magwell, this is called the fairly large hole Magwell. It is blended and shaped perfectly. Very, very cool. And you'd be surprised at what a difference that makes in regards to mag changes. Small little details that I talked about were this little cut up front here by the trigger. I mean, that's just something that most would just quickly overlook and not even notice. And it just gives it a little bit more of that symmetry, and it allows the pistol to really flow. And it's something that most people's eye would never catch. Ned's high cut on the frame is higher than most any other frame that I've felt. You can really see when I zoom up in on it how high that actually is, and then how he had to reshape and contour that trigger guard to flow properly. And you'll see, there you can really see, with that blending in, how he had to recontour up through the frame into the trigger guard, what that looks like. Sorry, I'm getting prints all over this at this point, but just wanted to make sure, I called that out. Ned bevels and lines are amazing. They're perfectly captured. They work very nicely and flow very nicely with the pistol. In terms of accuracy of this pistol, I've shot 99s at 25 yards in under 20 seconds or so. So for a commander, I am overly happy with that. I cannot do that with many commanders. And I don't typically love commanders for that reason. When you start getting that shorter sight radius, it makes it much more difficult to shoot extremely accurate at distance. But for whatever reason, this one is able to maintain and allow me to place shots pretty close to where I want them. I'm not sure if it's the sight setup or whatever else it is, but if you look, that's very fast. You can get on target really, really quickly when it comes to this pistol. outside of that, you know, I'm not going to get into all the other goodies in terms of, you know, the rear slide and how perfectly that all matches up. Some of the internal goodies in terms of, you know, lightening the trigger bow, and, you know, just the polishing and insane detail that goes into, you know, what's on the inside of this pistol. But I did think it was worth a quick video to show you guys, one, how beautiful this thing is, two, how amazing it flows, and three, just what great shape it's in for a gun that Ned put together in the early 2000s. And I have to say, you know, shout out to him, kudos to him. One, he's becoming a friend, or is a friend, but two, just, you know, how innovative he was for the time of him putting this pistol together. And I apologize for that little pause just a second ago. I had somebody opening the door and I didn't want them to speak and have me start this video all over again. So with that said, hopefully you all liked it. Hopefully you guys got, you know, some good insight on what this pistol is all about. Maybe it gives you some appreciation for, you know, a custom smith's work who you may have not ever seen before. But I have shown the Howdah, and this one is just equally as impressive. And again, that's Michigan's Ned Christiansen, the man, the myth, the legend, the mad scientist. Yeah, I couldn't be more impressed with a pistol like this than I am with this particular one. So hopefully you guys liked it. Come back next time. Hopefully I can show some more. If you guys have any questions, you want to see some up close video on any of the pistols that I post, please don't hesitate to let me know. I'll catch you guys next time. Later.